The graveyard shift, where the world sleeps and the shadows wake. These aren't just ghost stories. These are true accounts, told by the people who lived them. 3 nights, 3 different jobs, same bone-deep fear. Turn the lights down, and don't look behind you. I used to work the overnight shift at a remote gas station in northern Michigan, just on the outskirts of town, off a lonely stretch of highway. We were open 24/7, but between 2 and 5 a.m., it was usually dead silent. I actually liked the solitude, until one night in early December. It was freezing outside. One of those nights where the snow blows sideways and the air cuts through your coat. Around 3:15 a.m., I heard the front door chime. I looked up expecting a trucker or maybe one of the usual late-night weirdos, but no one was there. At first I thought it was the wind tripping the motion sensor, but then I heard the door chime again. Still, nobody. I got up and stepped outside under the awning, looking around. Nothing but snow blowing across the lot. No footprints, no headlights in either direction. When I came back inside, I found the freezer door wide open. This was one of those huge walk-in coolers in the back where we keep crates of milk, soda, beer. I had definitely locked it earlier. It's on a hydraulic latch and makes a loud ka-thunk when it seals. Thinking maybe it didn't close properly, I went over to shut it. That's when I noticed the condensation on the inside glass door and what looked like a handprint. Not just any print, it was smeared, like someone had tried to push their way out. I nearly dropped my flashlight. I opened the freezer slowly, heart racing. It was empty, but the light inside was flickering like in a horror movie cliché. I checked every shelf, every corner. Nothing. I shut and locked the freezer, checked the security cams. The footage was glitchy. It skipped from 3:11 to 3:18 with static in between. I should have gone home right then, but I stayed to finish my shift. In the morning, the manager checked the tapes. Same thing. Nothing recorded during the exact moment the chimes rang and the freezer opened. I never worked a solo overnight shift again. In 2020, right in the middle of the COVID lockdowns, I took a graveyard shift job as a private security guard. Not a glamorous gig, but money was tight. The site? An old hospital on the edge of town that had been shut down since 2015. The place was being prepped for demolition, but the company didn't want squatters, vandals, or urban explorers poking around. My job was basic. 1 patrol every hour, log the rounds, and check in with dispatch over the walkie. Easy money. Or so I thought. From the outside, the place already looked like something out of a post-apocalyptic movie. Rust-streaked windows, overgrown hedges, and a collapsing awning over the ER entrance. Inside, it was worse. There were old gurneys still parked in the halls, machines draped with dusty tarps, patient files scattered like someone had dropped them mid-run. The walls were stained yellow with water damage and age, and the whole place smelled like a mix of mildew, antiseptic, and rusted metal. But it was quiet, and quiet was good. Until it wasn't. Around 2:40 a.m., I was doing my 3rd patrol. This time, I made the mistake of heading toward the West Wing, pediatrics. Even the other guards avoided that part. They joked about it like it was cursed, but you could tell they weren't really joking. The second I stepped into that hallway, I felt it. Heavier air, like the atmosphere was thicker somehow. The wallpaper was peeling in long curls, revealing crumbling drywall beneath painted murals of cartoon animals, bears, ducks, and balloons faded from years of sun and time. Tiny metal frame beds were still pushed against the walls in some rooms, a few with rusted IV poles still standing. One room had a broken mobile of stars and moons hanging by a single string, spinning slowly, but there was no breeze. As I walked, my flashlight flickered. I tapped the side of it, annoyed. That's when I heard it. A soft giggle, high-pitched, childlike, echoing down the hallway. I stopped in my tracks. No wind, no footsteps, no hum of electricity, just silence. I tried to call it in. Clicked my walkie. "Dispatch, this is Unit 4, But the walkie stayed dead, not even static. Just that weird, impossible silence. Then I heard a voice. My voice. "This is Unit 4. Pediatric wing clear." Word for word. But I hadn't said it. Not yet. And the timing was off, like it was being played back to me. I turned in a slow circle. Nothing. But the hallway felt colder now. I could see my breath. And it was mid-June in Georgia. Room 3B was halfway open. The door creaked as I pushed it. Inside, the walls were covered in faded crayon scribbles. In the corner sat one of those cheap plastic toy pianos. One key was pressed down, just one, and it stayed there. The note wasn't playing, but the key was sunk. The walkie crackled again. "This is Unit 4. Pediatric wing clear." Again my voice, from the walkie. But I wasn't touching the button. I backed out of the room, checking every shadow. My hand was shaking so badly I could barely hold the flashlight. I bopped out of pediatrics and didn't go back the rest of the shift. Didn't care if a whole horde of trespassers were having a rave in there. I wasn't stepping foot back in that hallway. When I turned in my report, I mentioned the interference on the walkie. I left out the rest. Didn't want to sound insane. That's when the supervisor told me something that still gives me chills. He said 2 guards before me had quit without notice. Both during their second or third night. Both after walking the pediatrics wing. One had left his radio behind, still transmitting on a loop. The only thing coming through was his voice, repeating over and over. "They're still here." I used to work at a 24-hour diner just off a rural interstate in Texas, the kind of place where truckers nursed black coffee at 3 a.m., and the jukebox still had Patsy Cline. Most nights were quiet, a few loners, the occasional drunk college kid drifting in for pancakes. But one summer night in 2014 changed the way I looked out those diner windows forever. It was about 4:07 a.m. I remember because the wall clock ticked so loud it filled the silence. The hum of the refrigerators was the only other sound. I was by the front window, refilling ketchup bottles, staring absently at the stretch of empty highway. Our neon sign outside flickered every few seconds, washing the lot in a pulse of pink and blue light. That's when I saw him. He was standing by Pump 2. Only thing is, We didn't have a gas station anymore. Just one rusted pump left over from when the lot was a full-service stop back in the 70s. It hadn't worked in decades. The man didn't move, didn't fidget. He stood perfectly still, facing the diner like he'd been there all along. He wore an old tan trench coat, frayed at the edges, and a wide-brimmed hat pulled low over his face. His shape looked solid but wrong, like shadows clung to him in places they shouldn't. At first, I figured he was a transient or high on something. I told the cook to quietly lock the side door, just in case. About 10 minutes later, a couple came in, probably headed to Dallas, judging by their luggage. I poured their coffee and, trying to sound casual, asked, "Hey, did you guys see the man out by Pump 2? They both paused mid-sip and exchanged a quick glance. "What guy?" the woman asked. I turned toward the window and pointed. "That guy." They leaned to look. "There's nobody there." I laughed nervously and walked them over so they could see for themselves. My breath fogged the glass slightly as I pressed closer, and he was still there, standing exactly where he'd been, plain as day. I waved my hand toward him. "Right there. You don't see him?" They shook their heads. The man in the lot didn't acknowledge them. Instead, his head turned slowly, deliberately, until he was looking straight at me. Not them, just me. His eyes weren't just dark, they were black holes. No light, no reflection, nothing human in them. Then he smiled, wide, too wide. A full set of teeth that seemed too perfect for a man in a ragged coat. I stumbled back, knocking over a metal tray. The crash echoed through the diner. When I whipped my head toward the window again, he was gone. No walking away, no fade into the distance, no footprints in the dust of the lot. Just the empty pump, bathed in the flicker of our neon sign. A week later, a trucker stopped in and while settling his bill, asked if we still see the guy at the pump. When I pressed him, he gave the exact same description. Same coat, same hat, same smile. Then he told me about the stabbing. Back in the 80s, a drifter had been killed in the lot during a robbery. Bled out right beside Pump 2 before anyone could call for help. I don't care if someone swears they don't see him now. I know what's out there, and I don't look at Pump 2 anymore.